All right, everybody, you've made it to Module 6. Now, this module is going to be very interesting. And this first lesson here we're starting off with is pretty heavy here. So let's get started right away. What we're going to be doing is we're going to create another switch here to control the visual feedback of when we can collect our key. So what happens in our game? We pick up a dagger, we throw it. And then when we hit this diamond object, we want it to break open and give hints that there's a key inside there. And then we want to hit it once more and reveal that key. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to create a little perimeter here to detect when our dagger hits this, then break open the diamond. So let's get started right away. So let's go in here and let's create a new empty game object. I'm just going to call this one Diamond Break System, as this will be our diamond break system, simply put. So let's go in here and let's reset our transform, and let's position this to our central diamond position here. And let's add a good old Box Collider 2D. Box Collider 2D, and let's set this to a trigger. And I'm going to set it to the size of our diamond here. All right, position this guy in here. Perfect. So this will be used as our perimeter to detect when we hit this thing. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Cool. So there we have it, our diamond break system, step 1. And now what do we need to do here? We need to find our dagger prefab object. And now we need to apply the tag dagger to that to say when any item in our game tagged dagger hits this, then change the visual look of this diamond artwork here. So let's go into our game art, our prefabs, dagger prefab. I'm going to add the tag dagger to it, and I've gone ahead and created that. You can always just add tag and type in the word dagger. So there we go. Our prefab is all set up and with the tag dagger. So now let's go back to our diamond break system here. We're going to need a script to detect when our dagger collides with this object. So let's go in here and let's do just that. Let's go create new C# script, and let's call this diamond break system. And let's add this right on here. Awesome. Let's open this guy up and get on in here. So let's clean up as we regularly do. All right. So let's get started on this script here. First, let's create a variable to count the amount of times our dagger hits our diamond. This hit count we will use in a switch that we will create to change the display of our diamond object. So let's go like this. Let's go public, and let's call this, it's an integer value, and we'll say hit count, and it's going to start out as a default of 0. All right, so when you start the game, it will not have any hits yet. So when it's on 0, it'll display the full diamond. So let's say track number of hits from our dagger. Alrighty, so we have that variable created. And what's next? Let's go down here and let's create our onTriggerEnter function. We want to detect when this dagger hits this, then let's add 1 to our hit count value. So let's do this now. Let's go void onTriggerEnter 2D. Let's create a collider 2D, and our good old other variable. So what do we want to do? We want to say if other.tag equals dagger. Then we want our hit count variable to be one more value higher. So we need to add 1 to our hit count. So this I'm just going to comment out and say detect when dagger hits our diamond. Pretty cool. And we want to say increase hit count by 1 each hit. Perfect. So that's the main core right there. All right, so before we go any further here, let's test this thing out here. So let's go, and our script is applied, our dagger is now tagged. Let's hit play. And let's find this here. We want our diamond break system and our hit count. So let's go and collect this dagger. All right, so let's throw it. Perfect. So we now know it works. We've seen our dagger hit this diamond, and now our hit count has been increased by 1. I just wanted to make sure our foundation's solid before we start going crazy here. So let's go about and create our switch that we need to do. So this switch here is going to be in control of all of our objects displays here. So let's create this. Let's go public void, and this switch container is going to be called diamond damage display. Alrighty, cool. And let's go like this. This will be our main function that we want to call in our update. And let's create our switch within this function now. So let's go switch, and I want to take the variable hit count to be our case detection system there. So let's go, we now have our switch created. Now let's go in here. Let's start adding our cases. This will be first hit, and this is going to be case 1. And let's just create comments for the first portion of this, and then we're going to fill it in. So let's just go diamond normal visibility. Every case, these are going to change. How our diamond normal object that's stacked in there is going to be turned on or off for visibility, and how our diamond crack is going to be turned on or off in terms of visibility. And diamond, let's just go key visibility. All right, so every case, this is going to change here, and you're going to see how the system's going to work very clearly in just a second here. So there's our first case and break. Alrighty, so let's go and organize this. I'm just going to copy and paste this for a couple more times here. Case 1, case 2. So there we go. We just we have our switch all ready to go here. So what we have is when our hit count is at 0, it's going to be our default, which is pretty much nothing at this point. We don't need to worry about that. It's as it is in the game. But once our hit count goes up to 1, we want to change our diamond normal visibility off, and we want to turn our diamond crack visibility on, and we want to make sure that our key visibility is still turned off. And when we hit our second hit, our key visibility is going to be true, and both of these are going to be false. So it's just going to be changing the visibility of all those stacked objects that we set up in a previous module to actually kind of reflect to the player what's going on here. So I'm going to save that now. And because we always want to add a default here, I'm just going to go default. And default, I want it to just print out a message to us. Let's just say, do you have your key yet? Do you have your key yet? Alrighty. So there's our base. So what do we need to do now? We need to actually gain access to the visibility parameters of these game objects so we can finish this switch off here. So let's go like this. Let's create these variables. I'm going to say our switch visibility game object controls. And let's start creating these variables here. So we need to do a private game object. And let's say diamond full. And let me just copy this. And let's say diamond key. And let's just say key collect. All right, so what this is going to represent is this is going to be our store our game object for the diamond full, which is visible right now. This is going to store the diamond with the crack in it, which is kind of invisible at the moment, set up in our scene. And then we're going to have our key collect, which is going to be invisible in our scene as well. All right, so we have those. So now let's quickly just go ahead and assign these in our awake function. So there we have it. We have assigned all our variables that we're going to need. So it's going to be our game object variables we need for visibility. Cool. So now let's just make sure diamond underscore full, diamond underscore key, and key collect. Let's make sure those are in our scene and set up good to go. So diamond full, good. Diamond key right now is invisible right there. And we don't actually have, oh, do we have our key collect? Perfect. This is a empty script on there. I'm just gonna remove that component and sprite render. Perfect. All right, so all our objects are in our scene and all is well. So let's go back to our diamond break system script. And let's start quickly filling in these blanks because we know what we want to do here. So diamond normal visibility. So let's access those sprite render components and then set them to false. All right, so let's access that variable diamond full dot get component. We need to access that sprite renderer component. There we go. So we have that accessed. So now let's go like this. Let's go diamond full dot render dot enabled, and then this is going to be equal to false at this point. All right, so we're going to turn the diamond normal visibility off, and now I want that diamond crack visibility, and let's just do our key as well. All right, so let's go diamond key get component and diamond key equals true this time because we want to swap those. Let's go true. All right, and then we want to do key collect, sprite render, and key collect enabled false as well because this is not going to be showing at the moment. So now we have all this. I'm just going to paste this into case 2, and I can just overwrite that stuff. So this one is going to be false, and now when we hit it again, I want our diamond cracked one to be false as well, and then I want our key to be true. Perfect. Okay, so what we have here is on our first hit, when our hit count is set to 1, we want to only display our cracked version, and when it's set to 2, we want to only display our key, turn everything else visibility in terms of off. All right, so the last thing we need to do here is let's call this function that we just created. Let's go diamond break or diamond damage display. Let's call this function. So every time our hit count, our dagger hits us and our hit count goes up, it's going to change our case. And then that's going to update based off of this function here and update our visibility in the game scene. So let's go like this. Let's just say based off of hit count, reveal our key. Diamond break system is all set up. So now let's just quickly test this out. Let's close mono develop. And what is this error I'm getting here? So let's see what's going on here. Tend to just gaze over things. See if anything. Aha! All right, so print, we forgot to add a break to the end of our default state there. So let's quickly do that, and then let's save this. And let's close this off. That should be the case, I'd imagine. There we go. Perfect. All right, so let's hit play. So let's see what happens here. Let's go to our diamond break system, and let's see if this visibility is actually going to be updating. Let's just manually do our hit count. Let's go 1. There we go. Now it shows just our key, our key in our cracked diamond, and let's go 2. Perfect. That's all I wanted to do. So now based off the hit count, it's just changing the visibilities. All right, so that's all good to go. So now the fun happens. Let's quickly do this, and for time's sake, I'm just gonna say cheat has dagger. So let's go like this, throw it. When it collides, we now have our key. I'm gonna just cheat again and hit key. Bam. So now your dagger system is all set up there to break open this diamond and reveal your key. We have just revealed the greatest puzzle in our game. Now the next step is to make it so when we walk into this key object, we need to collect it and have our player and game state change accordingly. So in the next lesson, we'll go ahead and set up so WrapTuck can collect this key and this player state will update. We can also set our game state back to safe mode at this point and unlock that door right there. We have a lot to cover, so let's go on and finish that off there. I'll see you in the next lesson.